entertainment is dead. What's happening, YouTube? My name is Immortal Coil, and today we're talking about Marvel Phase 4. Standing in front of the actual mortuary where entertainment died. Very sad occasion, but nevertheless, let's move on. San Diego Comic-Con. We got the Marvel Phase 4 announcement. We got 10 projects that were confirmed as going forward and in production, and basically signed off for by Kevin Feige. Half of them are Disney streaming product, which you can tell by the little Disney logo underneath their stylized logo. The other 5 are going to be movies. Now, there's not too much to add to these as far as critique goes that other members of the Fandom Menace haven't covered, but there are a few interesting titles here that I'd like to zero in on. Now, my main source for this is an article by CNET that was originally posted in January of this year and has just been constantly being updated as info comes out. As I reported in previous videos, this phase of Marvel is going to be completely Disneyficated. Now, this means that Disney is very obsessed with identity politics, and there's a couple of pieces in this article that confirm that they're going to continue to push their beliefs and gender swap and race swap people who have been in existence since the 1960s as far as these comic books are concerned. Now, for me, the most interesting thing is going to be that Phase 4 looks like it's going to be the bridge to the XMen, which they just recently acquired from their buyout of Fox. Now, if you look at the movie The Eternals, at San Diego Comic-Con, Feige specifically said the word mutants and underscored it. And these guys, the Eternals, were created by a group of beings called the Celestials. And in the comic books, the Celestials went to a few different planets and messed with the genetics and created the potential for superheroes and mutations that led to superpower. Mutations which also gave rise to the X-Men. So we might get a inkling of that. I don't think it's going to be directly said the word X-Men, but he said mutants. I think we're going to hear the word mutants and mutation in this flick. The next thing that we should look at is probably Black Widow. Now, Black Widow, in the comic books, her fighting skills came from Logan. Him and Captain America were running around beating Nazi skulls, but in the comic book, the Black Widow's father hires Logan to be her personal bodyguard. And all throughout that time, he's teaching her the rudiments of fighting. Now, of course, she went on to her spy agency and learned all that other shit, but that would be interesting to see played out on the big screen. And right before we jump off the X-Men bandwagon, I want to look at WandaVision. Now, the Scarlet Witch actually came out of X-Men lore, as well as Quicksilver. They were children of Magneto. And in the House of M series, she uttered the famous words, "No more mutants," which changed the face of the X-Men universe. And since it's a TV series, we might even get to see some X-Men. It would be awesome to see Magneto interacting with his kids, similar to how he did in X-Men Evolution, the animated series. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Now, the others I can probably break up in the interest that I have in them, which some of them have intriguing threads they can pull on, but some of these things just really don't look that good to me. The ones that I am excited about, I want to see this Winter Soldier TV show, and I want to see Doctor Strange. Both of those look very compelling. I was actually a big fan of the Doctor Strange movie when it came out. I know it's not like huge on everyone's priority list, but for me, a student of martial arts and a student of mysticism and spirituality, that tickled enough of my nerve fibers to really get drawn into it. Also in there is the Marvel What If. Now that's very interesting to me because that was a series of comic books where they just tweaked a little bit of the storyline and then explored what kind of ramifications it would have. So that might be an interesting series, and since it's ongoing, we might get some good stories out of that. The next couple of TV series I'd be interested in would be Loki and Hawkeye. They're not my favorite Avengers. Loki has his moments, but I don't know how many. I guess we would have to leave it up to the writers to make Loki compelling. He is an interesting character, god of mischief. Might get to see Thor, might get to see Odin a couple times. But there's also, I guess, his past to explore. We'll have to see how Disney handles that. Same as Hawkeye. He was one of my favorite characters in Infinity War just because of the toll that everything took on him. Whereas before, I mean, he's an interesting character. He's one of the main group, but you know, a guy who can shoot arrows at anything and hit anything just isn't as neat as, you know, Captain America or somebody like that. And then coming in at the the relatively lowest interest for myself personally are two other movies. Shang-Chi, which I always thought was like a Bruce Lee ripoff, and Thor. Love and Thunder. Okay. Now, Love and Thunder. They're basically following the Jane Foster thread in the new Thor comics, where Thor becomes a piece of shit and he loses his worthiness to wield Mjolnir. And then this girl with cancer picks it up and turns into female Thor. And as other fandom menacers have pointed out, Thor is not a mantle to be worn. It's a dude's name. So they should still call her Jane, Goddess of Thunder. You know. And then the the King of Asgard, the Valkyrie, is going to be the first LGBTQ plus character that Marvel's going to say, hey, look at this, you know, she's tough and she's gay and she's looking for a king, which that would be funny if that's what female Thor ended up being. We're just going to have to see how that plays out, but as far as you know, I called this way back in a video I did called GENDA, which is simultaneously a play on lack of gender, but also acknowledges that there is an agenda going on to change around our favorite male superheroes into either demasculating roles or have them be supplanted by female versions of themselves. Now listen, I don't have anything against gay people or any of the other letters or the pluses, and I don't have a problem with female superheroes. The thing that's really amiss here is that they are trying out things on the big screen that didn't work in comics and hoping that, well, number one, they can sell more comics again, but number two, that everybody's just going to magically be as woke as they are and praise them and laud them and hand them their wallets. I'm cautiously dipping the toe in the water, and I'll have to watch some of these things for you guys, but you heard me speak about it in order of the level of excitement I have for it. I can only hope that they won't do with these properties what they've done with Star Wars. And shit, Star Wars is a couple months away, so we're gonna have to gear up and get strong. I guess the biggest implication for all this is that these stories are meant to function as our modern mythology, and they're supposed to be a reflection of the way that we think. And then when big companies stick their hands in it and try to tweak it so that they can control what we think, that's where the danger is. And that's what the real thrust of the contribution of the Phantom Menace is. It's like, look at what you're doing. You're changing our beloved stories, and then you're calling us ignorant troglodytes for giving you valid criticisms. And so there you have it. My thoughts on my level of interest in Marvel Phase 4. Now what I want to say is that the highest level of interest I have is and the lowest interest I have is. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know what you want to see covered on the next edition of Savage Spirituality. Check out my buddies in the Fandom Collective. We're an extension of the Phantom Menace, and we're here to document this terrible phase of humanity that we have entered into, and hopefully keep some remnants of sanity available to you. Check us out on Twitter, check us out on Instagram, check us out on YouTube. And remember, though the body dies, the soul is